watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Ellie. Very good morning to you.
We've got you talking about pronunciation, and I've got a joke for you.
Oh, go on.
It's from Gary, and Linda also has this joke as well. We're talking about the correct pronunciation of scone, and Gary says it's a scone until you eat it, and then it's gone. And Linda said the same as well.
Yeah. Rob says a scone you eat is the same pronunciation as a road comb, but with an S in front. You don't say road comb. Cone. No, yeah, but it's not, though.
You could do that with a lot of English words. It gets quite complicated, doesn't it? Kathy says, OK.
Like Rob, but you're wrong.
Kathy says, OK, Stephen, I can't cope with the shirtless video last night. And now the pronunciation of bourbon biscuit. How do you say it?
Bourbon.
Bourbon. Bourbon. They are pronounced bourbon. Thank you, Kathy. Good to see you back on Breakfast. We missed you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Keep your thoughts coming through GBNEWS at gbnews.uk. Time for the papers now with Deputy Editor of Spiked, Fraser Myers, and broadcaster Liz Kershaw. Morning, both. Liz, let's have a look at the Telegraph, should we?
Yeah.
And looking at the 3 threats to Rishi Sunak's government relaunch.
Yeah, this is an article by David Frost, you know, the one erstwhile chief Brexit negotiator. Yeah. He starts off with this, 3-paragraph metaphor about the Conservative Party in government, and it's like a car, and he's talking about revs and traction, and, anyway, you get wade through that. I see what he's trying to say. He says, he's basically saying, he doesn't use this word, so I'll introduce it as well. Not a car, but it's all a bit pedestrian, and it's just sort of bubbling over. And Rishi Sunak, of course, in the papers today.
Rishi Sunak,
yeah. Yeah. The secret love child of Rick Astley. Anyway, and he said to people, look, you're not stupid, you know what we're contending with here, don't you? And then it's like, he was calling people stupid and he wasn't wearing his seatbelt. Anyway, apart from that, he says, David Frost, there are actually some good things going on. You know, there is government in action, and he cites things like the decision to block the Scottish Government's so-called gender reform bill, the liberalising of financial service reforms, the online safety bill. It's not like really grabbing though, is it? No, but it's all good stuff, he's saying. But he says it'll all come down to, it's the economy, stupid, in the end. If it can improve in the next 18 months, then they might be okay. They might get through. And people will vote with their wallets, won't they? But he also highlights that there's a lot of good news on the economy, which we were discussing earlier, good indicators. Inflation slowly creeping down, and a lot better than in more than half of the 27 EU countries. The dollar against the pound's improved, the FTSE index is up, but he just recaps on what are the big challenges for Rishi Sunak, or however he's called. The first is immigration, particular. A few tweeters today said, all this thing about clamping down on illegal workers, a bit cynical, and it's because he's not managing to curb immigration, actually. Anyway, the first, according to David Frost, is immigration. He's promised to stop the boats coming across the channel. He says it won't be easy, and we'll have to see how Suella Braverman gets on. The second is the whole thing about conversion therapy and kids. I don't think, is that the number 2 issue in the country? And the third is the Northern Ireland Protocol, which, is very important to the people of Northern Ireland, but also he says it's important because Keir Starmer will try, and if the government fails to improve it, that Keir Starmer will use it as a tool, leverage to unravel Brexit, which we were discussing earlier with Fraser.
Talking of Keir Starmer, Fraser, also in the Telegraph, he's going to stop funding North Sea oil and gas.
So Keir Starmer's gone all just stop oil on us, speaking to Davos. I think this is a really quite perplexing idea. I mean, obviously we know that there's sort of net zero in the background. We're aiming to reach net zero carbon emissions by 2050, but we've just been through this horrific energy crisis. I mean, we're not out the other end. And we know how dangerous it is to depend on the global market for things like oil and gas. And Britain is very rich in oil and gas. I would have been, if I were Keir Starmer or any other leader of this country, I would have said we should be fracking for gas. We should be trying to find more gas, not closing that off as a possible future.
We need to look at transitioning from one to the other, don't we?
I think that that's going to happen over a period of time, but there's no use in if you stop investment, then that transition is going to be even more expensive. And the other thing is, for now, if we're betting heavily on renewables, you do always need a backup for renewables. And at the moment, it's gas is the main one we use. Sometimes it's coal, because unfortunately the wind doesn't blow all the time and the sun doesn't shine all the time. So you always have to have this sort of parallel energy system ready to step in. Ironically, it's usually in the winter where the sun is the lowest and the wind is the lowest. So that's why gas becomes really, really expensive every winter, because it's having to sort of play that backup role. We haven't actually got a solution to that yet, and there's not a technological solution to that exists yet. So I think potentially Keir Starmer is doing something potentially quite reckless here.
Interesting. Your thoughts on that, please. gbviews@gbnews.uk. I mean, I do think we've got to start transitioning.
We have started, haven't we?
Yeah, but you've got to possibly speed it up a bit. I don't know what that means. New invest. Should there be new investment? You're right. We've got to have backups and things, but investment money investment capital should be going into the what we need for the future, shouldn't it?
It is, but I mean, I think Starmer's an opportunist because Rishi Sunak hasn't gone to Davos. He's not there anyway at the moment, and Starmer's gone over with his shadow chancellor Rachel Reeves, and they're going creeping round all the big banks and meeting.
Well,
going, yeah, well,
you would though, wouldn't you?
Well, he's not the government, but anyway, and promising, we're going to reach net zero and all the rest of it. Okay, well, I just think to say we're not going to give out any more licences for exploration of gas and oil in the North Sea. It's okay to do that once you're confident you've got an energy supply. Meanwhile, there are people not turning on the central heating and advice from the health safety executive what I read this week, please keep your house at 18 if you're elderly, don't freeze to death. And I bought somebody a gilet for Christmas that's heated.
Body warmer.
Yeah. I didn't realise he had to be plugged into the base. So he thinks I was trying to kill him. But now he can sit and work at home with his gilet plugged into the wall and not have to have the radiator on or the fan heater on.
He doesn't get up in a hurry.
He did. He nearly strangled himself.
Talking of things to wear.
Yes, good, yes.
In the sun.
Right. Well, I'm really torn about this. I haven't made my mind up, but I've just got to think about it. Right. So, music, rock and roll has always been about sex. They've always used sex to sell records. Elvis Presley and his hips, and in the 70s, I mean, on Top of the Pops, you look back now, I have to avert my eyes because the guys in bands, the trousers were so tight. It was disgusting.
Oh, yes.
But now it's the women, and for several years, I think since the Spice Girls, perhaps, I've thought, it's just getting a bit much. So now, to sell a record, do you have to wear stuff like this? So is this like feminism in action? Are these women empowered by this? Are they just reaching new depths to sell records? I mean, do you have to show your gusset to get into the top 40 is the question.
It's interesting because
what do you think? I mean, we can't come on in the morning, can we? Just like
no, but the thing is, a lot of the fans of these female artists, a lot of
are young impressionable girls.
Are girls, not so they're not selling it to
not
boys.
For dads.
No, but is that empowering girls to say it's all right, you can go out dressed like this, or is it saying in order to get on in life, you have to put all your goods in the shop window? Now, I am not a prude.
No, you're not
this
prude.
is a genuine debate in my own mind.
I always just think with these sort of things, and it's when people go, it's how many fathers, it must be every father in the country pretty much who's got a daughter or mother has said, you're not going out in that.
Yeah. Well,
you have to ask, why?
We saw some girls going to school the other day and they had kilts on in North Wales or in Finland. She said, that school school's got a new uniform, and all the girls had done exactly what we did when we were
Point 'em up.
teenagers, rolled them up.
Yeah.
So they were like up here, but we had to kneel on the floor
We
at
had
the
to
convent,
as well.
and they used to measure the distance from the floor to your skirt and make you turn it down. So, yes, I just think,
Always that.
is this a good example or not? It's a genuine question.
It just, well, Cher did it, didn't she?
Yeah.
Back in the day, turn back time.
Yeah, she looked fabulous.
She did, but she was wearing nothing but a pair of tights and a stitch of black fabric. As she sat on a gunship. It's a fantastic video, but I mean, it's
Would you like it if, like, big rock bands, male, came on stage in their, you know, in their underpants?
Well, they just take the tops off and things a lot, don't they?
Yeah.
Same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, let us know what you think. We've got to leave it there, sadly. Liz Kershaw, Fraser Myers, thank you both very much
Thank
indeed.
you very much.